Hello, my name's Knitty Melissa, and welcome to my little series called Sock Talk. Um, I know some people, depending on where you live, say talk with the L, talk, but that's not how we say it. So whether it's an accent or where I grew up, I thought sock talk sounded cute. So here we are today. I have two of my patterns on. I'm wearing one of each, so you get the full experience for both socks. On my left foot, the red sock is my Lyanna pattern. So this was inspired by two characters from the Game of Thrones series. And on my right, these are my When Doves Cry socks, inspired by Prince, which obviously had to be knit in purple. So these are fairly complicated patterns in that the Lyanna sock is mirrored for right and left socks. It has some cables, some lace, little patterns down the side. The When Doves Cry sock has lace as well. It has just a little bit of cabling down the side, and it has beads, which as always are optional, but I thought they just needed a little bit of bling. So these are both what we would refer to as lace socks, even though there is some cabling as well. To me, they're primarily lace because you can see as you get closer, the lace makes little holes or eyelets that all line up in pleasing ways to create the pattern. So those are accomplished with combinations of yarn overs and decreases such as knit two together, slip slip knit, center double decreases, etc. All stitches are obviously always defined in the pattern, in the stitch key, the name of the stitch as well as how to work it, so those are available. I do find that with the lace socks, they tend to use slightly less yarn than, say, a straight stockinette sock or a ribbed sock or something with cables, where cables can be yarn eaters depending on how many cables and how many stitches they cross. In lace work, you really want the socks to be able to open up. So if you look, at, say, the sock that's not on my foot, if I get it here, you don't get the full effect of the patterning quite as much as maybe when you get a little bit of skin showing through. So these socks I could even have probably made one size smaller. You see they've got a lot of range of stretch because of the lace patterning, so it can be closed up a little more, or if they're stretched more, you see they open a little bit farther. So they're very forgiving in terms of fit. And choosing the correct size. These are both obviously knit with fingering weight yarn, Barking Dog yarns for the purple, and then the left one I believe is Invictus yarns. Both friends of mine, both named Sue, funny enough, and they are fabulous yarns to work with. My patterns are all available on Ravelry. So again, Lyanna and When Doves Cry. So they're always available there. I also encourage you to check out my Knitty Melissa Designs group there on Ravelry. And I'm on Instagram at Knitty Melissa. So if you knit any of my patterns, I would love for you to tag me, give me a little at Knitty Melissa action going on. Go check them out on Ravelry. And obviously if you have any questions on them anytime, let me know. As for the beads, as I said, the beads are always optional. I typically use a crochet hook to place them. So when you get to the stitch, you put the bead on the crochet hook, pull it onto the stitch, and then knit the stitch. But if you don't want to, you just knit the stitch and just ignore the fact that there would need to be a bead there. So these come down. You see I've got some fancy gussets going on for this pattern. So the beaded panel stops at the top of the heel flap, and then it runs into the gusset as it's decreased out, which gives it a nice stopping point for those beads. And then you don't have any beading on the foot, which means you don't have to worry about how they will feel in shoes. All right, so there you go. That's two of my patterns. So future installments of Sock Talk, I'll talk about cabled socks, I'll talk about maybe some rib socks, and then one of my favorites, stranded color work. So stay tuned, make sure to subscribe, and happy knitting.